Look at this gorgeous bouquet of garden flowers. A friend brought me these, and today we are going to paint her a thank you card and clean up this space here. I haven't painted outside on this table in, it feels like weeks, because it's been a little bit cold and then rainy and then windy. But right now there is heat and sunshine and birds and all kinds of lovely things, including this beautiful bouquet from a friend's garden. And this is going to be a really fast little practice. And I'm going to add it to my love stream for this week. So you can warm up as well and prepare for what is coming after this video. So let me just get my seat and sit down. So I'm going to pick out a few flowers here that are delicate and pretty, and I'm going to loosen up with my watercolors. I'm going to use the grapefruit that I chopped up for this grapefruit iced tea as part of the floral arrangement. And then we will see how this pans out. I have no idea. Maybe just watercolor, maybe watercolor and pencil, you know, water soluble coloring pencils. We'll see. I'm aiming to have relaxed fun. That piece of paper I've got in my hand, or watercolor paper, is 7.5 by 10 centimeters, and it's the perfect little card size, whether you're going to use it on its own or to stick on top of cardboard card. You know, the craft card that we make little cards from. So some rose, opera rose here, and little bits of yellow, just a mark here that suggests a flower. It doesn't have to all be flowers. Here is something reddish, reddish pink. Not sure what that is. Might be a daisy. And how about we create the outlines of one of those roses. Now, I didn't like that color mix, so I'm going to go back into those pinky purples and get enough color on the brush, if I can get this hair off, get enough color on the brush to do a rough outline with a pale center. That's why I used whatever was left over on the brush to create that center. There is a little leafy thing, and I'll create more leaf structures with whatever is left on that brush, and just to balance out those greens a little bit more, using the oranges and the yellows to create the segments and leaving enough white space for the white parts of the grapefruit. Imagining a center there and working around with these triangular shapes and curving around for that round cut piece of grapefruit. Right. So I literally came from a class today, and we were doing a fun theme for the Melbourne Cup. And that's why I'm a little bit dressed up today, sitting at this table. But I also know that later this afternoon, I want to go into the garden and just deadhead some of those plants and things that have either overgrown or have broken off by the wind. We had terrible winds this weekend. And I just want to go and check on the garden and see if everything is still okay. So all the spaces are basically filled in here. I'm balancing out a little bit of green on this side. And as a finishing touch, I'm basically outlining these leaves with little outlines that look like the leaves but that aren't the exact plant's leaves. They are random leaves and random shapes. On this one, I'm just creating some greenery over that red because I don't want the red gone, but it doesn't feel like it fits in as a red blob there. So here I'm taking a little bit extra red and concentrate, trying to just wisp in some of those petals. And the last part is where I'll bring in a little bit of blue for the background. Now, I don't want to overwork this and scrub on it too much. Just wherever I see a blank spot is where I'm going to put some blue and fill in. Be mindful that you don't fill blue in between the grapefruit segments because that is part of the inside of your grapefruit. So I don't know what I was doing there. I think I caught a droplet or something and just pushing the paint that was on there a little bit further instead of adding too much extra pigment. Well, not in that one corner, obviously, because that looks very bright to me. So I sprayed a little bit of water on that last corner to help move the paint because it's outside. Everything dries a little bit quicker. And I wanted that real flowy, watery look in this one corner. A handy tip is to make sure all four corners look different. That way it creates interest and almost a way for the eye to lead into what you were painting and lead out of the scene to give it some flow. Dash of extra color there in that grapefruit and a soft swoosh and blend. And of course, the pencils are on the table, so I better use them. And I don't want to overwork any areas. And remember, I'm working on top of dried surfaces and just adding a little bit of color into those areas where I feel my eye wants something to settle onto, especially on the petals where it's not clearly defined by color, so we can define it a little bit more with a pencil line. But remember, we are not drawing in all the details, we're just suggesting a few extra lines, a little shift in color, and a dot and a mark and a line here and there to lead the eye. Create a little bit of interest in your work. There, I think that should do it. Now, believe it or not, grapefruit tastes delicious with a little bit of ginger and lemon. Now, if you're ready, come along and paint this with me next.